5/6. This one's easy. We like it when we have fractions. 5/6. We want to change that to a decimal and a percent. Okay. Which is going to be easier? Decimal or percent first? Decimal. Definitely. How do you change that to a decimal? Easy. You just divide. 5 divided by 6. What do you get? 0.083. Is that right? Or 0.83 line. 0.83 with a bar over the which will be what? And be careful about this, because is it just plain old 83? Because that 3 keeps on going. Think about it. 0.83333, right? Dot dot dot. You got to move it over twice, and you've still got 0.3 forever going after it. So there it is as a decimal. There it is as a percent. Let me show you another way to write this percent. There's some common decimals that I want you to kind of recognize and know. The first ones are the easy ones. A quarter, that's a fourth of a dollar, right? Know that. 0.75, that's 3/4 of a dollar. That's three quarters, right? 3/4. 0.5, that's a half. Know those. Okay, you think I can handle that? Why is 0.5 a half? What did I say a while ago? That it doesn't need the 0, but could we put one there? That's 50 cents, right? Isn't that half a dollar? The other common ones I would like for you to memorize. 0.3 repeating. Does everybody know what that is? That's a third. 0.6 repeating. Isn't that 2 of these? That's 2 of the 0.3 repeating. It's 0.6 repeating, so that's 2/3. Those two right there pop up a lot. Memorize those. 0.3 repeating is a third. 0.6 repeating is 2/3. So if you wanted to, 0.9 repeating sure would be. That's a good question. 0.9 repeating, is that 1? Well, it's 0.9999999. We actually consider that to be 1 because it is so close to 1. Yeah, sure is. But on this one, the reason I showed you that is if you wanted to write it a little bit neater, 83.3 repeating, you could write as 83 1/3%. Either way. Last one of these, 9/10. Okay, don't even use a calculator on this. Think. Let's use our brains on this. What decimal could you read that would give you 9/10? 0.9. Is that not 9/10? Makes sense. Change that to a percent. Move it over how many places? Move it once, but in order to move it twice, we're going to have to do what? Add a 0. 90%. 9/10. Because again, let's put all these connections. Let's put them all together. If I'm going to give you 90% of my money, I'm going to give you 90 out of every 100. That's what percent means. Is that the same thing as giving you 9 out of every 10? Sure. Which is also the same thing as 0.9, which is also 9/10. Yes. They're not graded. No, sorry. Percentage problems. Now that we've got all that out of the way, let's work some problems. These are equations. These are one-step equations. You can do one-step equations. These are really easy because from here on out, guys, every day we'll be working more than likely some type of equation. That's algebra. It says percentage problems are important when we are dealing with sales tax or discounts among many other applications. We need to remember these important facts. So notice what I said there, sales tax. We deal with that pretty much every day. Percentages, we need to know them. Discounts, go to the clothing store, 25% off. Okay, we deal with percentages. Watch this, make sure, because here's the thing about math. A lot of people know so little about math that once they get out in the real world, they get ripped off every day. Every day. People are pulling schemes, people are sending stuff through the mail, that sounds great, but mathematically is just a terrible deal. Credit cards are one of the biggest misconceptions, one of the biggest things that people get mixed up with. Because they make it sound so great. Hey, low percentage rate, this and that and the other. And you might as well what you might as well do with some of these credit cards company is say, well, let me just take all the money I have and just send it to you now, because that's what's going to happen in the end. So watch this. You know, get a good solid foundation in math to where you know a little bit about it, so you don't get ripped off the rest of your life. That's a good reason to study math, so that you don't have to just mail in all your money, you know, without getting anything in return. So here we go. Things to remember when we're talking about percentages. The first thing to remember, and this is a big one. This isn't just percentages. I want you to know this. The word of. Anytime you see the word of, we're talking about times. If I told you to do 1/2 of 4, you know what you're doing? 1/2 times 4. Okay, the word of, you might as well just go ahead and put a time symbol there. Anytime you see the word of, you're talking about times. Is. John is tall. Okay, X is 7. Yeah. If I say X is 7, then X equals 7. The word is in math means equals. And a lot of people get those mixed up and they say that is means times. Well, think about that. Let's, again, use common sense. If I say that X is 7, does that mean X times 7? No. Again, think about that. X is 7 means that X equals 7. Next one, always change a percent to a decimal before you start. That goes for anything that you have to plug numbers into, any problem. Anytime you've got to plug a percent into a problem, anytime you have to use percent, you cannot leave it as 75%. You must change it to a fraction or decimal, preferably decimal. And then finally, if you're looking for a percent, change the decimal answer that you get back into a percent. We'll cover more of that later. You will need probably your calculator to make these a little bit easier. Example 2. 17 is 50% of what number? That is a one-step equation. If you will watch me, what I'm about to do, these are about the easiest problems you've worked all year. Anytime you see the word is, what I tell you it meant? Equals. Anytime you see the word of, I told you it meant times. Okay? So think about this. 17 is, there's one of those words. 50% of, there's another one of those words. What number? You write that as 17 equals, stop right there for a second, 50%. Make sure you don't leave it as a percentage. You have to change that to a decimal or it's not going to come out with the right answer. 50%, move your decimal 2 places to the left, 0.5. Do what? 50%. Yeah, for what number you got, well, first off, of, times. What number? That's what we're looking for, right? That's your X. Look at that. 17 equals 0.5 times X. Hopefully, surely to goodness that we can solve that. That is a one-step equation. How do you get X by itself? You divide by 0.5. Somebody do that for me. You get X equals 34. So 17 is 50% of what number? 34. Is that true? Is 17 50% of 34? That's the same thing as 17 is half 50% of 34. Any questions? Next one, 25 is equals 40%, 0.4 of what number? Does everybody understand how I'm getting? Do you see how easy these are? 25 is 40% of what number? Divide by 0.4. You get what? 62.5. Wow. The next one. What? What is 30% of 62? What is... Well, think about what you're doing here. How do you do 30% of 62? Think about what I told you. Yeah, you do. What's of means? Times. What's 30%? 0.3. So all you're doing there is what? That is it, guys. Does that make sense? If you keep in mind what of means, keep in mind what is... And if you want to write X equals 0.3 times, that's fine. But just do 0.3 times 62. What is 62 times 0.3? It is 18.6. So what is 30% of 62? 18.6. After today, hopefully, you can do a lot of percentages in your head. We could do that in our head. Okay. The next one. Yeah, you could. 125% of 90, that is 12.5. Of means times 90 is what number? Equals X. Or you can just do 12.5 times 90. Move it twice. Oh yeah, 1.25. I'm sorry. Because if you just put it right there, that's just moving it once. Good job. 1.25 times 90. Anybody? 102.5. Any questions? The last two, these are the ones you got to be a little bit more careful.